Hello friends, hope you all are fine. Welcome to the series of the video lectures for anti-diabetic drugs. Right. As I've committed in the last lecture that we will discuss the pharmacology of each of the anti-diabetic class, right, in a detail. So starting with the same, right, and the first one that we are going to discuss is insulin, right. So without wasting time, let us discuss the physiology of insulin in a detail. As you know that insulin is a very important hormone of our body, right, and definitely it is the first and only choice that you can consider for the type 1 diabetes, apart the case that pramlintide is recently been introduced for management of type 1, but still the first choice remains insulin. As well, it is used for the treatment of, you can say, that type 2 diabetes, some of the diabetic complications like diabetic ketoacidosis, you can say the hyperkalemia, many important, you can say, therapeutic uses that we will discuss at the end of the chapter. Okay, but before that, let us see the basic introduction for insulin and biosynthesis of insulin. Okay, so insulin was first discovered in 1921 by two scientists, Banting and Best, right. They discovered the insulin using dog, right, in the pancreas of the dog, and definitely this you can consider as one of the best invention of the 20th century, right. And you know that without insulin now you cannot imagine the management of diabetes mellitus. Fine. Okay, so insulin, as you all know, that it is a polypeptide, right. This polypeptide is having 51 amino acids, right, and molecular weight is somewhere around 6000 Dalton, right. So this is, you can say, that the details. This 51 amino acid further you can consider, right, if you just go through the structure, then it is composed of two chain, A chain and B chain. A chain is so called because it is acidic in nature. Similarly, B chain because it is basic in nature, right. A chain is made up of 21 amino acid and B chain is made up of 30 amino acids. These two chain are linked by disulfide bridges, and there are two such disulfide bridges present in the insulin, right. This is one disulfide, right. If there are two sulfur, definitely you will consider as a two disulfide bridge, right. So without this disulfide bridge you cannot, you can say that have the pharmacological or physiological action of insulin, right. So active center is not recognized, but then definitely this disulfide bridge, if they have been broken down in any case, right, then it will lead to zero activity of the insulin, right, and that's why their presence is very much important. Insulin basically is soluble in water, right, but then you can change this property by, you can say, extremities of the a change in pH, or you can also, you can say, add some substances like zinc, or say for example protamine, right, which can induce crystallization of insulin. Now why such molecular aggregates or crystals of insulin need not to be prepared? The reason is the insulin as such is a very important drug, but the biological half life of insulin is very you can say short, right. Its action is very rapid, but then the half life is very short, and that is the reason why, right, overall to control the prolonged hyperglycemia we need to change this property, right. So you can have an amorphous molecular aggregates or maybe a crystalline insulin which could slowly but sustainedly release the insulin, and thus it could help in the reduction in the frequency of insulin injections, or it could, you can say that you can say the hypoglycemia, or you can say that hyperglycemia, prolonged hyperglycemia, that you can say better manage with such type of. These details definitely we will discuss in the insulin preparations, various insulin preparations. Now let us check the biosynthesis of insulin. Okay, so as you all know that all peptides in our body, they are synthesized in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It is actually ribosome, right, but then rough endoplasmic reticulum, wherever associated with the ER, right, endoplasmic reticulum, we call it as a RER. So RER of your pancreatic beta cell synthesizes pre-pro insulin, which is 111 amino acid containing polypeptide. Now this protein which is synthesized by your rough endoplasmic reticulum is sent to the Golgi apparatus. You know that modification of the proteins, converting them into a functional proteins, and packaging of protein is a very important function of Golgi apparatus. So here pre-proinsulin will be converted to proinsulin. You can just see that this single sequence is removed, and now you have a proinsulin, right? So 24 amino acids are removed as a single sequence, and then you can have B chain, A chain, and C chain, right? And this A chain and B chain, as you can see that they are linked with the disulfide bridges, right? So there are two such disulfide bridges as we have discussed earlier. Still there is presence of C peptide, which further is degraded by your beta cell peptidase enzymes within the Golgi body vesicles, right? And then eventually what you will have is C peptide and insulin present in these secretory vesicles. This secretory vesicles will, wherever been exocytosis is been executed, these two, that is C peptide and insulin, will be secreted together, right? So what you can call as a co-secretion is observed here. The function of insulin is definitely been well recognized and well understood, but function of C peptide is not clearly understood, right? Here again I would like to mention that it should not be confused with C reactive protein, right, which is called as a CRP. CRP is commonly observed in, you can say that some of the inflammatory condition, right? So definitely this C reactive protein is different and C peptide is different, right? Wherever we have infection which results in inflammation, then normally it is monitored with the CRP levels, right? C peptide as such is very important in diagnosis purpose, right, because it is co-secreted, right? So definitely the level of insulin indirectly can be measured by C peptide, right? And why it is important is because it is having a longer biological half-life, so it will remain in the plasma for longer duration, while insulin, as I told you, physiological insulin, it is having a very rapid, and you can say that short action is rapid, but then the biological half-life is very short, right? These C peptide levels also are important in some of the insulinomas, right? Whether the pancreatic cancer is there, then also to detect the pancreatic cancer, you can say that the C peptide levels are measured, and also in some of the cases of forensic sciences cases, right? Because many a time you know that one of the major effect of insulin is definitely blood sugar lowering effect, but if you give higher level of insulin, what it will lead to is, right, augmented effect will be, definitely it will be hypoglycemia, and in that case health professionals sometimes use to murder a person, right, with the use of high dose insulin. Such cases are being reported, and in that case whether the insulin was exogenous insulin or whether it was an endogenous, that you can correlate with the level of C peptide. If C peptide is there, then the insulin naturally has been, physiologically has been released, right, that is observed, and if C peptide levels are not found in the blood, definitely that insulin has to be exogenous one, and that is how the forensic science a person, right, they will be able to diagnose, they will be able to detect whether it was an physiological case that has resulted in hypoglycemic coma and finally death, or whether it was an exogenous insulin, right? So very interesting fact that we have learned related to the C peptide, right? Moving ahead is the factors which can influence the insulin secretion, right? So first factor, definitely it is the you can say that the absolute glucose concentration, right? So you know that that's a major factor. Not only this absolute glucose concentration, also it is the rate of change of blood glucose. This will determine the, you can say that secretion of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cell. Remember that this pancreatic beta cell, right, that releases insulin is a biphasic response. Initially there is a rapid response, right, that is a high level of insulin you can observe in the blood plasma, followed by second release which will be slow and sustained type, right? Such is the effect. This is first phase, right, and this is the second phase, right? So biphasic response can be observed in the blood, right, following the meal, right, normal meal that you take, right? If you just go through the measurement of insulin level in the blood, right, then it is definitely it is a biphasic response that you can observe, right. If I am not wrong, in previous lecture I have shown a diagram, right, that what is the defect in the type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There I have also mentioned the physiological release of insulin, right, which you can definitely correlate here also. Now definitely, as I told you, that glucose is the major one, but apart from the glucose, it is your amino acids and your fatty acids that are also important. Amino acid, particularly arginine and leucine, are being observed amino acid as an insulinotropic agent, right. So presence of arginine, leucine, definitely all amino acid, but this particularly are observed to enhance the insulin secretion from the pancreatic beta cells. Similar thing you can observe for the fatty acids also, right. So definitely insulin is an anabolic hormone. So to increase uptake and utilization of these all small molecules, right, you can consider that it is been designed like that, that presence of this molecule stimulates the beta cell, right. That is how you can understand the process of metabolism in your body. Definitely your ANS also have a very prominent action, and in that case parasympathetic nerve normally stimulates beta cell, right. You know that your rest and digestion phase stimulates parasympathetic nerve, right. So wherever the phase of digestion is going on, the blood sugar level will go up, and in that case definitely this pancreatic nerves via action on the muscarinic receptor stimulates the beta cell, right. On the other side, it is the sympathetic nerve, right, or you can say exogenous adrenaline, right, or maybe say for example presence of adrenaline from the adrenal medulla, right. This also you can say it can control the you can say blood sugar level, right, and they do this by inhibiting the pancreatic beta cells, right. Especially this you can say alpha 2 receptor adrenoceptor, right, action on the alpha 2 receptor adrenoceptor, that actually inhibits the direct action on the you can say that beta cell, and you can say that there is one more action that you can consider is action on the beta 2 cell, right, in the liver, that actually you can say inhibits the synthesis of glycogen. So overall the effect of you can say that adrenergic system, right, or sympathetic system is hyperglycemia, right, that is what you can consider. Your hormones from the GIT, right, that is your gastrointestinal tract, also does have effect on the pancreatic beta cells, and these hormones which can stimulate the release of insulin from the beta cells, they are identified as a incretins, right. There are two types of hormones possible, one is incretin and second is excretin, right. Incretin are the one which stimulates the endocrine part of the pancreatic you can say cells, right. So it is definitely GIP and GLP-1, right. GIP refers to gastric inhibitory peptide, right, and GLP refers to glucagon like peptide 1, right. This GLP-1 is been exploited you can say research point of view, and we also developed some of the analogs, synthetic analogs of GLP-1. We know that exenatide is one of the very good example, as well as the metabolism of GLP-1 can be stopped by some of the you can say drugs, and we have discussed that in the DPP-4 inhibitor category, right, gliptins. So definitely these two are very important, right, to stimulate the release of insulin, right. Yeah, these are the examples: incretin mimetics, that is your exenatide, and gliptins are exactly not mimetic, but then you can consider as an inhibitors of the metabolism, that is DPP-4 enzyme inhibitors, right, dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitor, right. Definitely some of the drugs, right, that is sulfonylureas, they also have a very important effect on the beta cell, and they are referred as a you can say that insulin secretagogues, right. So they directly can by blocking the ATP sensitive potassium channel, this definitely details we will discuss in the next slide, but ATP sensitive potassium channel is blocked by sulfonylurea, and that will lead to membrane depolarization, release of calcium and exocytosis, right. So these are definitely very important, because sulfonylureas have their major action through the release of insulin. Their adverse effect are also very much similar to the insulin, that is major adverse effect is your hypoglycemia, right. Both drugs, insulin and sulfonylurea, can produce hypoglycemia, right, which is very important. Apart from that, you can have effect of amylin also, right? You know that amylin as such is present as a peptide in the pancreatic beta cell, and presence and absence definitely is an indicator of disease, right? You know that amyloid proteins, right, deposition of amyloid proteins is a important histopathological you can say criteria for many diseases. And in long term, you can say that type 2 diabetes, or maybe even in type 1 diabetes, these deposits are very much, you can say that important, right? Amylin actually, you can say that inhibits the release of pancreatic beta cell, right, physiologically, right? But overall, you can say that amylin analogs, if they have been given, right, then definitely they will prevent the deposition of amyloid you can say fibrils in the pancreas, and in that case they can be used, right, for management of type 1 diabetes, right? You know that there are some physiological antagonists also in case of, you can say that glucose homeostasis, right? And in that case glucagon is the one, right, which is, you can say that produces exact opposite action, right, what insulin does, right? Similarly, your somatostatin, that is the delta cells, D cells, they do have effect on both, that is alpha cell as well as beta cell. They do control the activities of these two cell, and that is how they are used in, you can say that management of you can say that or you can say the homeostasis of, you can say that glucose, right? So this is overall, you can say that factors which can regulate the insulin secretion, right? Now we will discuss the regulation of release of insulin, right? So definitely wherever there is an digestion, right, that is occurred in the stomach and small intestine, right, glucose will be available in the blood. This glucose from the blood vessels, they can enter into the pancreatic beta cell, right? Remember that pancreatic cell, beta cell, is as good as neuron, right? It is able to sense the glucose that rapidly, right, because there is a presence of GLUT2 transporters, right? So glucose transporter 2 that are present on the cell membrane. So facilitated transportation will allow the entry of glucose. Once a glucose is entered inside a cell, it is, you know that glucokinase enzyme, right, which is a rate limiting factor, right, rate limiting enzyme that could convert definitely this into ATPs. Once the ATP is available inside the cell, there are some you can say targets which are present on a potassium channel which will respond to this ATP. These are called as a ABCs. ABC refers to ATP binding cassettes. These ATP binding cassettes which are present on the potassium channel, because they are sensitive to the concentration of ATP, wherever this ATP ADP ratio is modified, the membrane the ion channel gets closed, right? So there is a closure of this ligand gated potassium ion channel, right? Ligand that is been important here is ATP, right? Once the potassium channel is closed, now definitely membrane will become depolarized, right? You know that normal concept which you have learned in the neurons. Once there is a membrane depolarization, there is one more channel, but there the gating mechanism is based on the voltage, right? So you can just see that normally this is closed, but wherever there is a membrane depolarization, then this ion channel will open. Once calcium ion channel gets opened, entry of calcium allows the fusion of these secretory vesicles which are produced by Golgi apparatus, right? So these secretory vesicles, these proteins, they get fused with the membrane proteins. Once there is a fusion, you can have a release of insulin, right? So this is how the chemical signaling, that is the absolute glucose concentration, right, will lead to release of insulin. This is what is normally been observed, okay? So this is a very important, and you can say that basic mechanism, right, of control of release, control of hormonal release, right, from the pancreas. Now let us move to the transportation, metabolism and excretion. Now as you all know that it is a peptide, and in the case of peptide, oral route of administration is not possible. Definitely we now have made you can say that oral insulin, right, formulation been possible with the advances in pharmaceutics, but here we are not going to discuss that. And second case is, it is also not that viable, right? Oral insulin, despite of its development, is still not been you can say used, right, in the clinical practice, right. But as such, if you talk about normal insulin, the oral absorption is not possible, right, because in presence of acid, definitely the peptides get denatured, and in that case oral absorption is 0, and that is the reason why insulin is normally given by parenteral route, right. And two things are possible. One is subcutaneous, which is most commonly been practiced. Second is by IV route also you can give, right. IV also is possible. IM is also possible, right, that is intramuscular route is also possible, and you can say that intraperitoneal route also is sometime been practiced, right. So these all you can say that routes are possible, right, apart from oral, right. Definitely all these parental routes are possible in case of you can say that insulin administration. But as I told you that normally it is subcutaneous injection that is been practiced. The reason is you cannot go to the health professional daily for taking the injection of insulin, and you know that there is a separate type of an needle, that is tuberculin you can say syringe and needle, right, that is been used normally. So in that case, definitely when you go to the such type of an you can say use of needle, the administration, right, is been done in the layer which is just beneath the skin, right, that is subcutaneous one, right. IV definitely is not possible because a normal person, layman person will not be able to identify a vein and will not be able to you can say execute the IV administration, right. That is the reason why. The rate of absorption definitely will be dependent on the you can say that type of insulin, right. And as I told you that various insulin preparations are used, which will definitely very you can say very soon we are going to discuss. So that part I will take in detail at that time. Plasma protein binding, normally it is very low, right, and it definitely circulates in a free state, right, and only negligible fraction is bound to the globulins. Metabolism, yes, it rapidly disappears from the plasma and it is taken up by the liver and the kidney where it is been majorly degraded, right. So there is a presence of an enzyme. That enzyme is called as a insulinase, right. So this insulinase enzyme breaks the insulin molecule into A and B chain, right. Initially there is a breaking of disulfide bridge, right. As I told you, once you break the disulfide bridge, then the action is 0, and second enzyme that will come into action is insulinase, right. So this insulinase will definitely convert this peptide molecule into its different chain, A and B chain, and then finally they will be again you can say that reutilized to form amino acids or will be excreted out from the body, right. Excretion is very minor, right. Remember normally it is been broken down into the various amino acids and then it is been you can say that it is been removed from the body. Small amount of insulin is also bound and inactivated by some of the tissues like muscles, skeletal muscles and fatty tissues, which are also their major effectors, right. These are major effector organs for the insulin, right. As I told you that negligible insulin is excreted, right, in the urine and feces as such, right. Definitely elimination is primarily by the metabolism and very less fraction is removed directly into the excretion, okay. This is the half life. You can just see that it is less than 9 minutes IV insulin, right. Similarly, if you give subcutaneous crystalline insulin, then also somewhere around 40 minutes, right. This is what the half life in the plasma is, right. So very short biological half life you can consider for a natural type of an insulin, okay. And that is the reason why we have converted insulin into various preparations, right. Insulin wherever discovered, right, as I told you that it was discovered from the dog, right. So initially, right, where the biotechnological methods are not available, then it was been isolated from different animal sources, and in that case definitely this insulin which is isolated from different animals will show changes in the amino acid sequence, right. Activity will definitely be observed, but because of this change in the amino acid sequence, there is a possibility that it will show some antigenic response, right. So insulin allergy or antigenic response are possible, right, with the use of the you can say animal source, right. Now definitely it is not a problem, right, because insulin is produced by genetic engineering and biotechnological method, that is human insulin, humulin is been available, and in that case this antigenic activity is rarely been observed. Allergic reaction to the insulin previously were very common, now there are less common. The reason is the you can say use of humulin, right. Normally we give peptides in units, right. So per milligram of insulin, or you can say that if you want to give 1 milligram, right, so you can just consider 25 units are equivalent, right, to the 1 milligram of insulin, right. This is how the dose is been recommended, right. Dose normally is given in a range of 15 to 25 or 30 units based on the need of the patient, right, based on the hyperglycemia that is produced in the patient's body, right. So porcine insulin, right, the insulin which is you can say isolated from the pig, that is resembling the human insulin very closely, and that is the reason why it is having a low antigenicity profile. But as I told you that now the problem is completely solved, that is because of the available of humulin that is produced by recombinant DNA technology, right. So here there is an use of biotechnological methods. Moving ahead is the mechanism of action of insulin. The major effect of insulin on metabolism, they are produced by action on a tyrosine kinase linked receptor, which we classify as a type 3 you can say receptor. You know that there are 4 types of receptors. Type 1, that is ligand gated, type 2, that is G protein coupled receptor, type 3 here it is mentioned, and type 4 is a nuclear receptor. Okay, so out of that type 3 receptors, so here is the one, you can just see that this is an insulin receptor, right, which is having this structure, right, these alpha chains, 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. This is an insulin receptor, and insulin binds somewhere here. You can just see that blue molecules which are shown, right, these are insulin molecules, they can bind to these you can say the receptors. As you can see that this is a transmembrane receptor, right. Apart from type 4, that is a nuclear receptor, all 3 receptor type 1, 2 and 3 are located across the membrane, and that is the reason why we call it as a transmembrane receptor, right. Now the actions are initiated, right, by you can say first step of you can say that signal transduction is you can say that consequence of the you can say autophosphorylation, right. So receptor autophosphorylation will occur first, followed by you can say that dimerization, right, and once dimerization is there, then you can have activation of some of the proteins, right. These proteins are called as a IRS, right. IRS refers to insulin receptor substrate, right. There are commonly many types of IRS, but IRS1 is been observed you can say that you can say as an important molecule, right. So this IRS1 basically interacts with the proteins which contain you can say the SH2 domain, right, and once these SH2 domains are activated, you can have variety of you can say that a sequence of you can say activation of you can say that pathways, right. Immediate pathway that is been activated is the PI3K, right, phosphoinositol 3 kinase. Once it has been active, it will promote these GLUT4. GLUT4 are actually located at the Golgi apparatus, and then there will be migration of this transmigration of GLUT4 to the cell membrane. Once they are available at the cell membrane, now you can have entry of the glucose, right, because glucose is a polar substance. You can know that that it cannot enter inside the cell as such, and this GLUT4 will facilitate its entry. Once glucose is available, then definitely the conversion of glucose into ATP into energy is a possible case. Not only the important glucose entry, but also entry of amino acids, entry of fatty acids, and entry of some of the small substances like potassium, that also is promoted by the presence of insulin, right. So definitely in that case it increases utilization of not only glucose, but also amino acid, fatty acid, and small molecules, so small ions like potassium, right. Long term effect definitely are through the activation of you can say sequence of an kinases, right. So RAS, RAF, MEK and ERK, these all kinases gets activated. Finally this you can say that proteins, right, these kinases, they do alter the transcription, gene transcription, and once this gene transcription is modified, you can have switching on of a genes which are needed for anabolism and switching off the gene transcription process which are needed for the catabolism, right. So both things will happen, right. You know that anabolism is conversion of small molecule into larger molecule, right. So glucose to glycogen will be promoted, right. Synthesis of lipids will be promoted, synthesis of proteins will be promoted, right. And on the other hand, catabolic processes will be inhibited, that is the glycogenolysis will be inhibited. Similarly, lipolysis and proteolysis also will be inhibited, right. This is how the insulin produces wide range of effect on the metabolism, but it will not be immediate as it is involving activation of this protein kinases and finally gene transcription process. Insulin is also having variety of effect on the cell growth and differentiation, and it is been observed, right, that it leads to stimulation of mitosis, right. So it is, you can also consider as a mitogenic molecule, fine. This is the same, you can say, mechanism of action, but I have shown here in a more detailed way, right. So you can just see that this is an insulin receptor. Once insulin binds with this receptor, what you can just see that there is an endocytosis of insulin receptor complex, right. There is autophosphorylation, you can just see that phosphate molecules been present here. Then there is a dimerization, that also you can observe. Once it is dimerized, then it will be endocytosized, right. And immediate action of this is recruitment of glucose transporters from the Golgi apparatus to the cell membrane. Once this is available, right, amongst this GLUT4 is very important, right. GLUT transporters, as we have discussed in the previous lectures also, are very important, but GLUT4 are very important because they are located in some of the organs like skeletal muscle, adipose tissue, liver, right, where major utilization of glucose is occurring inside the body, right. So GLUT4, effect on GLUT4 are very prominent, right, and in these organs the entry of glucose is solely dependent on the presence of insulin. If insulin is not there, glucose entry is restricted, fine. Additionally, there is an activation of RAS, action on the DNA and RNA, which can, you can say that, activate the gene transcription. One of the example that I have shown here, tyrosine kinase activation will lead to activation of insulin receptor substrate. This responds to insulin also, and one more peptide, that is an insulin like you can say peptide, right. So that is insulin like growth factor, not peptide, but it is insulin like growth factor, right, but definitely not to the other growth factors, right. So once this IRS is there, it will activate some of the targets which are having SH2 domain protein, and you can just see that there is an activation of MAP kinase, protein phosphatase 1, right. Some of the key enzymes which are responsible for the synthesis of glycogen, lipids, proteins, and you can just see that these are the widespread metabolic effect. Overall effect, right, definitely there is decrease in the blood glucose level, right. So this some I have discussed, right, presence of insulin can stimulate what and can inhibit what, that I have shown here, but I am not revising because I have discussed earlier somewhere in the hormones of pancreas, right. You can just search that video lecture and you can find the details which are related with this physiological action, or if it is been asked as a pharmacology also, then also you can discuss, right, pharmacology of insulin, pharmacological effects of insulin, right. So that definitely you can discuss in this manner, right. I am skipping this part as it is earlier discussed. Types of insulin, definitely it is the chemical modification or maybe change in pH or maybe molecular aggregates produced by you can say that presence of zinc or protamine. Protamine is a fish protein, right, or you can just have, say for example, some of the biotechnological changes. This has produced various types of insulin preparations, right. So primarily the differences are related to the pharmacokinetics, okay. So short acting, that is regular soluble insulin, normally as I told you that insulin is a soluble one, right. So it gives a peak in 2 to 3 hours and duration is up to 8 hours. Intermediate acting insulin is isofen. Isofen is also called as NPH, right. NPH refers to neutral protamine hagedon, right. This is, you can say that, the name of the isofen insulin, which is very much famous, right, because it gives peak in 6 to 8 hours and duration is 16 to 24 hours, right. So it makes maybe pharmacokinetic properties make it better, right, to be used, you can say, in case of insulin patient. Similarly, you can also have biphasic or lente type of preparation, which are also under the category of intermediate acting insulin. Third is long acting insulin, ultra lente and because that protamine zinc, right. This gives a molecular aggregates which serves as a sustained release formulation, and in that case you can just see that peak is somewhere around 14 to 20 hours and duration is 24 to 36 hours. There are also ultra short acting insulin, that is insulin Lispro. We will see that why it is called as a Lispro, because two you can say amino acid are actually switched, right, in their position in the molecular structure, and that is why it has been called as a Lispro. Similarly, insulin aspart is also an ultra short acting agent. Long acting insulin without peak action to stimulate the normal insulin is a very famous formulation, that is called the glargine, right. Why it is famous? Because normally what happens is when you have type 1 diabetes, 70 to 80% cells are destroyed, and when you start giving exogenous insulin, body will you can say that solely rely, right, on the presence of you can say that exogenous insulin, right. And sometime it happens that basal insulin secretion gets compromised. Your body, because it senses that the exogenous supply is available, it could reduce or it could stop because that synthesis of insulin. In such a case, stimulation of normal basal insulin is also equally important, and in that case glargine can be a very good choice. Also is a case that glargine can be combined with some of the ultra short acting, like say for example insulin Lispro, right, and such cocktails are also very much famous in the management of hyperglycemia. We will see this in the next slides, right. You can just see that this is a regular crystalline zinc insulin, 1 milligram, 27.5 units, right. Earlier we have seen that normally the conversion is 25 units, right, so it is almost equivalent, right. Similarly, this is an Lispro insulin, which is commonly referred as a Humulin, right, and in Lispro you can just see that here the last two amino acid sequences, right, second last and second third, this last 28 number and 29 number, right, that is proline and lysine, these are switched, right, and that is the reason why it is called as a Lispro, right. So this structural modification I have shown here. This are some more example that why the name of this type of an preparations have been originated. As you can see that glycine, right, at the 21st position, and addition of arginine at 31 and 32 position will lead to preparation that is glargine, which is we have seen that is without peak a very long you can say that action of insulin can be produced to stimulate the basal release. Similarly, Lispro, how it is called as a Lispro, like glucilin, right, aspart, datimi, right, how the name are been originated, that you can just see that what structural modification we have done with the genetic engineering, right. So this you can just check the name of different insulin preparations. This is also a chart which gives you an idea of what is the onset of action, when will be the peak will be observed, and what is the effective duration, right. So these are short acting, long acting, and as I told you that you can also go for a combination, that is cocktail of this short acting, intermediate acting and long acting to have a desirable pharmacokinetics to satisfy the need of the patient. You can just see that the difference in the onset and duration of action of different types of preparations of insulin, right. And I hope with this diagram you will be now very clear that why these different insulin preparations are invented. Okay. This is also you can just see the chart, right, where the various doses of insulin, right, various preparation of insulin can be given before meal or after meal to control the hyperglycemia, and the preparations like glargine overall, right, you can say that for a prolonged control of hyperglycemia as well as to stimulate the basal level, this is how they have been given, right. The frequency are been shown here, and what combination cocktail therapy can help you, that also is tried to show by this chart, right. Newer ways of giving insulin are now available, right, with the advancement in the pharmaceutical technology, but as I told you, largely it is you can say that your insulin injections, subcutaneous injections, they are normally used, right. If I talk about oral insulin, right, then definitely it was discussed very much, right, but unfortunately either because of the price or because of the shorter biological half life or maybe because of other hurdles, is not that famous, right? Wherever it was introduced, it was considered as a blockbuster invention, but now it is not that much widely being used, right? What is done exactly here is insulin is incorporated in a biodegradable polymer, right, or that is within the microspheres, right, which act as a slow release formulation, right, and it's been encapsulated with lactin, right, in a glucose permeable membrane, right. That is how they try to go for an oral insulin, right. You can also give some of the peptidase inhibitor along with the insulin, so that gastric degradation can be stopped, right, but then definitely it is not that famous. Insulin pen, insulin pump, as you can see that this also was tried to marketed in a way that glucose level can be monitored by this pump, and depending on the glucose level the pump will inject the insulin, right. So automatically hyperglycemia can be controlled, but that also is clinically not been used. Inhaled insulin once been proposed, now it is not been preferred, right. So different formulation, different ways of giving insulin are being proposed, but right now also, as I told you, that it is the injection, right, of subcutaneous injection of insulin, they are very much practiced. Moving towards the adverse effect. So major adverse effect is hypoglycemia, right. So the thing is, correct dose is very important, because if high dose of insulin is given, that could result in hypoglycemia, right. So remember, hyperglycemia can produce mortality and morbidity on a long term purpose, but hypoglycemia, if it is severe, right, it could lead to very high mortality. And remember, the patient of insulin largely dies because of hypoglycemia, right, not because of the hyperglycemia, right. So that is very important effect. So it's an augmented type of effect, right. Wherever you have a high concentration of insulin in the plasma, it could lead to severe hypoglycemia, and this is a major hurdle, right, in the management of type 1 diabetes. Also, there is a rebound hyperglycemia, which is called as a Somogui effect, right, that can be observed in the diabetic patient, right. So what is this? In case of rebound hyperglycemia, because there are some counter regulatory hormones present in the body, right. So wherever you give an insulin for longer duration, right, after many years, this could be observed that it could lead to rebound hyperglycemia. This rebound hyperglycemia can follow insulin induced hypoglycemia, because wherever there is a hyperglycemia, what patient will feel is, I need to take a more insulin, while actually it is not a case. It is a physiological process by which hyperglycemia is being observed. And it is very important to note here that normally in this case, patient will try to increase the insulin dose, right, especially in the evening, right, evening dose of the insulin, but then you actually have to reduce the insulin dose, so that the counter hormones, counter regulatory hormones, their effect can be nullified. Okay, so this is called as a Somogui effect, right. So it's a very important adverse effect. Now you know that insulin is anabolic hormone, right, and in that case it will definitely produce lipohypertrophy at the site of injection, right, wherever you have administered insulin, right, at that site, because there is a local high concentration, right. Say for example, this is a subcutaneous mass, right. So you know that subcutaneous layer, you have adipose tissue, right, location of adipose tissue is just beneath your skin, that is subcutaneous, and wherever you inject insulin, because of the high concentration of insulin, lipogenic action can be produced, right. So hypertrophy means there is increase in the size of the adipocyte, right, there is a deposition of mass of fatty acids, right, lipids, and in that case hypertrophy could be observed. So this is understandable, right, that at the site of injection insulin can produce hypertrophy, but this atrophy can also be produced, right. So two adverse effects that you can consider, one is lipohypertrophy and second is lipoatrophy. Commonly these two are referred as a lipodystrophy, right. So lipodystrophy is a common adverse effect of insulin injection, especially when given by, you can say that subcutaneous route, right. So this is the description of that. But then yes, why lipoatrophy? Remember, lipoatrophy is because of antigenic action of, you can say that some of this, say for example, if you are taking insulin which is from the animal source, or maybe in case of the genetic engineering also, we are doing lots of modification in the sequence of peptide. So in that case, if insulin is being injected, there could be a you can say immune response originated against that insulin, and that will lead to destruction or atrophy. Atrophy means there is actually there is a destruction, but hypertrophy refers to reduction in the size, right? As compared to this is smaller in size, so this is hypertrophy, or it is also called as atrophy. A actually refers absence, right? But ultimately it is going to be destroyed. That's why it is called as a lipoatrophy. So these two adverse effects are very common. As such, it will not produce major problem, talking physiologically, right? But the thing is, it will have cosmetic issues, because at the site of injection, right, looks very ugly because of this lipodystrophy. It becomes very ugly, right? And because of these cosmetic issues, that is the reason why doctor normally suggest, right, that the site of injection of insulin should be changed regularly, right? So otherwise, if you use single site, then you can say that there could be some problem, right? Cosmetic issues, right, that are because of the generation of lipodystrophy that could be observed, right? So which are the sites that can be used for injection of insulin, right? So definitely normally you can use the shoulder region, that is upper arm region, not shoulder but upper arm region, that is deltoid muscle, where the deltoid muscle is located. Then the thigh muscles can be used, right? The area of thigh. Then the gluteus maximus, right, buttocks, right, that can be definitely exploited. And more easy option is the large area of abdomen, that also can be exploited, right? So every you can say at time of every injection, right, definitely the site should be changed, right? Then this type of problems are not observed. Obesity associated with the insulin, the reason is because insulin is an anabolic hormone, right? So obesity are, but then it is not a problem in case of type 1 diabetes, because normally type 1 diabetes patient are thin, right? But in case of type 2 diabetic patient, if the later stage of type 2 diabetes, if it is needed, then definitely this needs to be considered, right? But this again can be managed, right, on the diet control, right, or maybe say for example combining with the other drugs, it could be controlled. Insulin allergy is rare, but you can say nowadays it is rare, right? The reason is we are not using the insulin from the animal source, so insulin allergy is nowadays been rare, right? Even insulin resistance can be observed in some conditions, right? Maybe a prolonged hyperglycemia, insulin resistance can be, right, because in some cases auto insulin antibodies also are generated, and in that case insulin resistance can be produced. Even in some conditions like pregnancy, acute insulin resistance can be observed, right? Insulin edema is very rare, but it could occur, right? So retention of sodium and water could occur with a long term use of insulin, but as I told you that this edema of insulin is very rare type of an adverse effect. Long acting preparation, the mitogenic actions are questionable, right? Because as we have discussed, insulin can produce can stimulate the mitosis, right? So mitosis, you know that it's a somatic cell division process. In that case, normal physiological insulin, it is not a problem. But if a long acting preparation is being given, say for example insulin glargine, then if it continuously stimulates this mitosis process, this mitogenic action can produce carcinomas, which is observed in preclinical studies with the insulin preparations. Fortunately, clinically these cases are not been correlated or not been observed, but still it is to be action, right? This action needs to be, you can say, controlled, right? Maybe phase 4 clinical trial studies will give a better idea on the mitogenic action of long acting preparation. But remember that long acting preparation have a tendency to produce carcinomas, right? With this, most of the discussion of insulin is over. As we have discussed that because in type 1 diabetes there is an insulin deficiency, so definitely it is a drug of choice. In type 2 diabetes mellitus also, wherever there is an excessive stress on the pancreatic beta cell, right, because hyperglycemia is prolonged and the normal basal insulin level are not able to control, so that chemical signaling of hyperglycemia will send message to the pancreatic beta cell, release more insulin, and that eventually this stress which is created on the pancreatic beta cell can lead to destruction of beta cells, and in the later stage of type 2 diabetes mellitus also there will be need of, you can say, insulin. It has been reported that 33% of the type 2 diabetic patient will need insulin at some stage in the management of hyperglycemia. Definitely for gestational diabetes, that is diabetes related to pregnancy, insulin is a drug of choice. Also, we have discussed that insulin, because it is stimulating the entry of the potassium, right, inside the cell, so it allows the extracellular potassium to be migrated into intracellular fluid. Such a case, if hyperkalemia is observed, right, sometime insulin can be used. But problem with the insulin will be it can produce hypoglycemia. We have referred that it's a major adverse effect. Such a case, it's an extraordinary use that you need to combine insulin with glucose, and these two are in combination are used for management of hyperkalemia. There are many drugs which can be used. Say for example, diuretics also are available case, if not contraindicated. Maybe some of the resins are also available, right? Even drugs like salbutamol also can treat hyperkalemia. But yes, definitely insulin is a good option, right, providing that it rapidly allows the entry of potassium from the extracellular fluid into the intracellular fluid, right? But wherever insulin is used, it should be used in combination with glucose. Diabetic ketoacidosis, it's a medical emergency. It's a complication of type 1 diabetes mellitus normally, and in that case also insulin is a very good option. Okay, so this wide range of, you can say, therapeutic actions you can consider while discussing the pharmacology of insulin, right? So with this we are completing a lecture. At the end I would like to show you some of the famous celebrities of Bollywood, Hollywood, maybe cricketers, right? Even former Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Theresa May, right? Nick Jonas, right? Definitely we in India we remember as a husband of Priyanka Chopra, right? Famous actor like Kamal Hassan, Pakistani cricketer Wasim Akram, Sonam Kapoor, right? These all are celebrities who are right now having type 1 diabetes, and they are able to manage them very very effectively with the diet control and with the effective use of various insulin preparations. Okay, so this was a detailed discussion. I hope you have received the all details regarding the insulin. Thank you very much. I would welcome your comments, your likes, right, on my channel. Thank you very much.